So just to start out, I think this is a time of tremendous opportunities for early education in this country. It's definitely a very exciting time for me to be doing the kind of early education policy work I do in Washington, D.C. We have the Obama administration that has come in with really, I think, a greater level of support from the highest levels of the administration for early education than we've ever seen from a previous administration, where the president made it a key issue on the campaign trail, where Secretary Duncan has talked about it repeatedly whenever he goes out and speaks to folks, but also has experienced firsthand seeing the value of early childhood education programs that are high quality in Chicago, where he was the superintendent. At the same time, we have bipartisan congressional support. It's been amazing to me when I go up to the Hill and meet with congressional staff how excited some of the Republican staffers are, and that is not an experience I had in previous years trying to talk to folks about early education at the federal level. Third, we've got this new ARA funding for Head Start and the Child Care Development Block Grant, as well as Title I, that is a really big infusion of funds that can be used to support and expand access and quality in early education. And then finally, we have NCLB reauthorization coming up. And I know when we talk about early childhood, we tend to focus mostly on the Head Start piece, the child care piece, the state pre-K piece, without necessarily thinking about No Child Left Behind. And sometimes we really don't want to think about No Child Left Behind getting too close to early childhood. But there are funding streams in NCLB that are major funding streams at the federal level for school districts to fund programs for young children, both in IDEA, not in NCLB, but in Title I, and through some of the reading programs and other efforts in NCLB. And I think as we look at the fact that these kids are in district schools or near district schools, we need to really look at how NCLB can better support quality across a pre-K third continuum. At the same time as we have big opportunities, I also am frequently very worried about what I also see as a really risky time for early childhood education. First and foremost, the state budget crunch. I don't really need to talk to you here in New Jersey about how that is threatening some of the things that folks have worked for really hard on the early education front. And really in states across the country, we're seeing this continue to be a problem and a challenge that folks have to face. Second, I do worry about the potential waste of ARRA funds. This is a tremendous amount of money that's going out the door very quickly, going to school districts that without necessarily a lot of oversight and a lot of guidance as to what are the most effective things folks should be using it for. And I just have some concern that if we don't use those funds effectively, it's going to be much harder to get good funding for high quality early education efforts in the future. And then finally, whenever we talk about new investments, either at the state or the federal level in early education that are big and dramatic, I always have this fear, well, what if we get it wrong? What if we do something and it's not very good quality and it doesn't work? And then 5 years from now, people are coming and saying, well, you promised us that we were going to get these great results for kids, and look, nothing's happened. And I think that's a real danger as states move forward on this and as the federal government starts to get more involved, because I think it could undo really decades of work and advocacy that folks have put into really convincing folks that these are investments that pay off in better long-term results for kids. And if we promise that, we have to deliver on that. And so when we talk about, well, how do we make sure that any new investments get results for kids, obviously the number one thing is quality. And I don't need to talk to you about that because quality has been such the focus here on early education in New Jersey. But the second piece that I think is really critical to making sure new early childhood investments pay off in long-term results for kids is this pre-K